What is up, guys? So in today's video we are going to be going over some tips that I have learned throughout the years for starting a manga collection. We are about a third of the way done with 2026, and I was like, there's a lot of things that I wish that I had known sooner when starting my collection that a lot of people probably also want to know sooner. It's one of those things that these are some tips that I think will be helpful, that I think a lot of other people, like, I think it'll help them starting their manga collection. So I figure, why not? The whole goal of this channel is to spread the love of manga. So I figured that this would be a good way for me to do it. So starting off, I want to talk about the reason you want to get into manga collecting. There's plenty of reasons to get into manga collecting, whether it's, hey, one of your friends tries it. Hey, I watched this YouTuber. He makes a bunch of manga related videos. Hey, this anime I'm watching just ended and I want to know what's happening next for the first season. That's actually part of the reason I got into it. So, I used to love anime when I was younger, and I loved everything to do with it, and that's why I started my manga collection, my old one, not the one that I have now. And I fell out of anime for a long time because I didn't know anyone who was into it. And I just kind of lacked, like, talking to people about it. I missed it. I didn't have anyone to talk to about it. My friends and I kind of grew apart that were into it. And then I met my best friend now, and he introduced me to this anime called Dandadan. Dandadan was a phenomenal series. Him and I ended up binging the entire first season in a night. This was back when just season 1 was out. We started watching it right around the same time that I created this channel and started uploading videos back when, for those of you who remember, when I only had 5 or 6 volumes in my collection. I had, like, Dandadan 1 and 2 and then a couple of volumes from my old collection. And this was kind of one of the series that started it all. But around the same time, I had also seen a Tennis video, which is why I mentioned the YouTuber thing and wanting to start a manga collection, because those two things are what inspired me to start my collection. And this was one of the series that I had picked up because I was like, okay, I've watched the anime, let's try the manga, I want to get back into it. And it was an anime that I really loved, and one that I felt like I could dive into the manga, and something that I kind of felt like could start me into it, but also keep me into it, because that's a big thing. And that kind of ties us into my second point, which is, when trying to start a manga series, there's a lot out there, and it's a lot to handle. But my recommendation for you guys is to start with just 2 series. And I know that's hard, but start with 2 till you get a couple of volumes under your wing. Start with a continuous series like Dandadan. This is what got me back into it, and it's helped me stay in the hobby because I would look forward to when the new releases would come out. As you guys can see, I have all the volumes now, and I still collect them when they first come out. Like, it's the new release that'll keep you back into the hobby, and it's something new. It's something to bring you back. But these volumes are released usually, I'd say, every 1 to 3 months, and that's a long time. So, like, if you get the first 3 volumes of a series and you're waiting for volume 4, but oh shoot, you've got 3 months, that's where your second series comes in. Find a series that's already finished. For me, I already had this volume, but this was like kind of the other series that I really liked, and it was Assassination Classroom. This series is finished. All, I believe, 20 volumes are out, something like that. But a lot of stores, and this is a bad example because Assassination Classroom can be kind of hard to find, but like Demon Slayer would be a good example of this. These stores have a lot of these books just sitting. So in the time that it takes for the next volume of your continuing series to come out, whether it's Dandadan, Chainsaw Man, whatever it may be, Kagurabachi, you have this series that's already finished, which is still an amazing series. It's just done. And a lot of these volumes you'll just see sitting on the shelves because there's no new ones coming out. And so that kind of fills in the time between when the new volumes of your collection are coming out. And this was kind of how I started building my collection. And I did mine at a little bit of an accelerated rate, especially recently, which is honestly why it's been nice to take a break for the month of April. And this is where I'm going to send in a PSA. Don't buy too much at manga at once. Like, I know when I first started, I wanted a huge collection like Tennis. He was one of the big reasons that I got into collecting manga. And I wanted this big collection that I saw that he had. And I found that when I do these big manga hauls on my challenge for a long time, these books go unread. Granted, sometimes that's because I'm saving them for a video like Kaiju number 8. But for the longest time, like, I still have Goodnight Pun Pun sitting on my shelf that I bought in a manga hunt, and I haven't read. And yeah, it's on my TBR, and the month of April is me eliminating my TBR, but I bought all these volumes, and now, like, look, yeah, I'm struggling to read them. I just found that when you buy a lot of volumes all at once, it can become overwhelming. Which is why I say take it slow, start with only 2 series. Now, having that 2 series thing in mind, you want to think about genres. There's a lot of different genres. There's action, there's comedy. Like, you've got all of your main genres, and then there's a bunch of little, like, sub-genres within manga. Manga is not just, oh, this is it. So that's another thing to take into consideration is the type of manga you like, because you could be the type of person who wants to read, sorry if you guys can't hear me well, who wants to read a romance series. I had to turn around and grab this one off my shelf. Or you could want something a little bit more action-packed like this, or something with a little bit more comedy. Granted, both of these series have a good bit of comedy in them and a good bit of action, but you guys get the gist. Think about the type of manga you guys are going to want to consume, because this is something that stays with you. It takes up space. These are books that you're going to collect, and probably you're going to collect a lot of them if I had to guess. I know I certainly did. So those are kind of my main first couple of tips for getting into it. And then the other thing you want to consider is the types of volumes that you have. So right here is a single volume of manga. It is one volume. Usually they're about 200-ish pages, sometimes a little longer, sometimes a little shorter, but they're about 200 pages. You know, the paper quality is decent on them. You get good art. Well, the art's kind of dependent on the series. So that's kind of like your baseline. Usually nowadays they cost about $12 US. They used to be 10. I really wish that I missed the days that they were 10. You also have these things called deluxe volumes, which are a little bit higher quality. Usually they run for about $50. I know that like Berserk has a lot of them. Like they're hardcover. Like the Berserk ones are all leather. They're super nice. Vinland Saga is also releasing them. So those are always another option too. Vagabond has some. And then you've got omnibuses, so an omnibus, this is volumes 1, 2, and 3 of One Piece. An omnibus will combine all 3 of these volumes into one volume for, I think they usually go for about $18 now, but they'll be noticeably smaller than these 3 volumes combined, and that's because they use much cheaper paper quality. And I wish that I had one here to show you guys, but I don't. I actually used to, in my original collection, have One Piece 1, 2, and 3 in an omnibus, because I didn't have a video like this to help me along the way with my manga collection journey. But yeah, so they're much cheaper paper quality. A lot of times you can honestly see some of the art that's on the next page through the page that you're already reading, and that's not fun. Omnibus is the only time that I would recommend them is if you're solely interested in catching up with a series like, you know, say One Piece, because it's so big. If your only goal is to catch up with it and you're not really like looking to have this great, huge, crazy collection, then they're good. And I know that, yes, they are cheaper, but if you can, just buy the singles. They're so much nicer, and they'll last in your collection so much longer. And I do have some other tips to save money, which I'll touch on in just a second. And I know that I sat here and trashed omnibuses, but the one exception to these, besides for the Vagabond omnibuses, because like they have a sweet connecting spine, is something kind of like this. And it's a hardcover omnibus. These usually do have the same nicer quality that you would find in a regular volume. This is JoJo's Volume 1 and Volume 2 combined together, which you kind of see when you're reading this. But that's one thing to consider, because it's a hardcover, it's a nice volume, which takes me to the next point. If you guys can, collect hardcover volumes like JoJo's Vinland Saga, they look sweet on your shelf, and that's another thing that you guys are going to want to consider is how do you guys like the way that your volumes look? Because you don't want something bland on your shelf. Like, I know for me, Kaiju number 8 and Don to Don are some of my favorite spines. So is Phantom Busters. But then you've got ones like One Punch Man that I'm just, like, they're clean. Yes, they look good. But I'm not a huge fan of. Like, I love that pop of color. Like, I love the contrast to the Don to Don spines between the color and then the black, like, the black background on the spine and then the color down the spine. Those are some of the things that you want to consider because, again, these take up a lot of space and you're going to be sitting there looking at them for a long time. So, I know that I just touched on omnibuses, and I said, yeah, they're a great, cheaper alternative to collecting them because you'll be spending about half the money. But I want to get into a better way to start your collection and grow your collection and still save the money. And for me, I use this a lot. It's box sets. For me, box sets so far, I have the first 4 One Piece box sets that are released now. I know that box set 5 is coming out soon, and I plan to collect that because the entirety of the One Piece collection that I have is made up of these box sets because they allowed me to get the massive One Piece collection at such a discounted rate while still getting the quality that came with getting these single volumes. And the single volumes look a lot better too. Aside from Vagabond, which has the sweet connecting spine, all of the omnibuses for One Piece, they're all Luffy. I've bought numerous box sets. The ones that I'm going to show today are the One Piece box set, and then, because this grew a huge chunk of my collection, 90 volumes, and then I also have the Chainsaw Man Part 1 box set, which was super sweet because Chainsaw Man's divided into 2 parts, the story itself is, and this allowed me to get all of the first part of the story, and I got 11 volumes for, I think, $55, which comes out to $5 a volume, plus, I had to reach over and grab it, sorry, in box sets, a lot of times, you'll get things like this. You'll get a free poster. Like, a lot of times, double-sided posters are very common. Or, in the One Piece one, not only did you get a poster, but, like, box set 1 has this booklet, and it's the first a little bit of Romance Dawn, and I just think that that's really cool. Like, you get these little booklets, and they show off different things. Like, each one came with a different one. So this one was like a cross between One Piece and Dragon Ball, which was really cool. Or this one is like Jinbei's story kind of wrapped up. And then, like, it's just a little bit something nice. And you're already getting these volumes, usually at like a discounted rate, but it's like a bundle. And let me tell you guys, the rush of dopamine that you experience when you're holding this box set in your hands and you're just looking at all the volumes, like looking at volumes 1 through 11 of Chainsaw Man just all wrapped up in this little package. Oh my goodness, it was so amazing, and I love it. And it adds so much joy and another layer to collecting manga. And they look good on your shelves. You guys can kind of see up there. I have all of my box sets stacked up there on top of my bookshelf. Now, speaking of bookshelves, nailed my camera. I've talked about how books are something that's going to take up a lot of space for you guys. It's something that you guys are going to have probably a lot of, and you guys are going to need a spot to store them. I started off my collection with just some shelves that I had in my walls, and then recently in one of my manga hunts, I upgraded and I got this shelf right here. Now, I know a lot of people think, oh, bookshelves are these crazy expensive things. And don't get me wrong, they can be, but you can get good shelves like this. This shelf was $28 at Target. And I know that they have a bigger one that has 2 more shelves on it that's $40. And I know that might seem like a lot of money to you guys, but, you can hold a lot of books. I think I have a decent-sized manga collection, and it holds almost all of it besides for One Piece. I think I've got about 90 volumes-ish. 80 maybe volumes on this shelf, which I think is pretty good. And don't get me wrong, this is like a great starter shelf. And in the future, once your guys' collections get a little bit bigger, maybe you want to upgrade to something like IKEA. IKEA has these things called the Billy Bookshelf. They're what Tennis has in all of his collections. They're, I think, about $80 now. So there's plenty of different options at plenty of different price ranges at plenty of different stores. So now that we know the type of manga you want to collect, the number of manga, the different series you're going to collect, and where you're going to store that manga, you kind of have like a general idea of the basics of running your manga collection and the things that you want. Now, this is one thing that I have really struggled with, and that's why I want to kind of end the video with this. One of the hardest things, and one of the things that you need to be okay with, is quitting to collect a series. So, 2 series that I've quit collecting. One of these, this first one's only for a little bit, and the second one, I honestly don't know if I'm going to pick up. The first one, like, for right now, this series, it's such a good series, but it's just a series that I'm not going to be collecting at the moment, because there's a lot of other stuff in my collection, and I know that at the moment, I have so much other stuff to read and so much other stuff that I'm interested in. This is just going to sit and rot on a shelf, and these books are expensive, and they take up a lot of space, like we've talked about. So right now, I know that I have this in my collection, but I'm okay stopping collecting it for a little bit to collect some other things that I want more, like Dandadan or Kaiju number 8 or One Piece or One Punch Man or Kagurabachi or Phantom Busters. I'm okay taking a break and knowing that I'm not going to collect the rest of this amazing series for a little bit. But the second one that I want to show you is a series that I don't know if I'm going to come back to, and that's okay. And it's Monsters We Make. Monsters We Make was a good manga. It just didn't sit with me. I wasn't a huge fan of some of the characters, and so I honestly don't know if I'm going to pick up the second volume of it. I've given it some thought, and there's nothing wrong with it. Like, these are both good mangas. You guys will like them. The point is be okay giving up a manga and be okay not collecting it, even though you started it. It's okay to test and tune. It's okay to try new things. You aren't necessarily going to like every single one that you try, and that is okay, people. And if I had one message to leave to you guys today, that is it. I hope you all have an amazing day, and I hope that this was a helpful video for you guys. Anyways, guys, peace out. Have a great day, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out, guys.